Now give me life.
Oh, hi, it's Ivory Towers here. I am one of your Season 3 hosts of Absolut Empire's Ball, one of the most inclusive drag competitions in Canada, founded by Scarlett Bobo. This year, we would have started Season 3 in Toronto and Season 1 in Vancouver, but girl, Miss Rhoda came and shut the world down. Thankfully, together with Absolut Canada and Mojo Toronto, Scarlett and my co-hosts, Alexander Brandy and Helena Poison, we were able to bring you live drag shows online. But with Miss Rona still holding us all hostage indoors, we decided to take a deeper look at some of the best talent from West Coast to the East Coast, so you can discover even more drag. So welcome to Drag Coast to Coast.
She wants to go where no one goes. She wants to feel like she's alive. 'Cause her heart aches and she's pretty sure that she ain't what she was before. She wants to go where no one goes. And she said, one ticket to anywhere you can take me. One short flight could change my life for good. 'Cause I'm sick of all the same old ice cold faces, sick of all the false starts, same hearts breaking. Don't know where I'm going, don't know if I care. She wants to go where no one goes. She wants to feel like she's alive. 'Cause her heart aches and she's pretty sure that she ain't what she was before. She wants to go where no one goes. The city looks brighter from a distance, but no flashing lights can recapture the life that she lost. And 'cause she's sick of all the same streets, same beats playing, sick of all the mundane, same pain growing, a familiar burning in her chest. She wants to go where no one goes. She wants to feel like she's alive. 'Cause her heart aches and she's pretty sure that she ain't what she was before. She wants to go where no one goes. She wants to go where no one goes. She wants to feel like she's alive. 'Cause her heart aches and she's pretty sure that she ain't what she was before. She wants to go where no one goes.
Thank you so much for clicking on this video, everyone. Hi, how's it going? My name is Ivory Towers, and I'm one of your Absolut Empire's Ball hosts. Of course, I want to thank Scarlett Bobo for putting Absolut Empire's Ball together, as well as Absolut Canada for always supporting our live videos we did online, as well as this web series. So thanks, girl. And today is all about drag kings. That's right, Alexander Brandy sits down with Quebec Drag King Charli Deville to get his thoughts on the inclusion in drag and how powerful and important drag can be. And of course, we have Barbecue Bon Top and Absolut Ambassador Danny Yoon. They're going to show us how to create a classic-inspired cocktail by Charli Deville, a fancy fruity version of a classic cocktail to help us get through these hot summer days. Ugh. And remember, if you want to support local drag, just click the link below and that link will take you to our GoFundMe. All the proceeds will be going towards everyone involved in this project, in front of the camera and behind the scenes. It would mean the world to us, so thank you so much in advance. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm super excited to see this segment, so take it away, Alexander Brandy and Charli Deville.
Thank you so much, Ivory. That's right, we have one of my favorite performers in Montreal. Probably my favorite, but I know that's going to get me in trouble if I say it. The one and only Charli Deville.
Salut tout le monde, je m'appelle Charli Deville, j'habite à Montréal, Québec. Je suis connue comme étant le deadbeat daddy ici à Montréal. Ça fait 7 ans que j'habite ici, mais avant ça, j'ai habité à Winnipeg pendant 23 ans. Alors, je viens du Manitoba originalement, mais maintenant j'habite ici au Québec. Et je suis un drag king.
It's absolutely insane that you look this incredible without any makeup on. It drives me wild.
It's a gift, what can I say?
Charli.
Let's talk about me.
Let's talk about you.
My favorite topic.
Where did drag start for you?
It started 2.5 years ago. I did a competition called King of Kings here in Montreal. It is a drag king competition, the only all drag king competition that I've ever been in, I think. And it was thrown by House of Lorraine, which is a queer collective here in Montreal. They've been putting on kind of queer weirdo shows for years. So they were the ones who kind of, would have taken the mantle on to do this. And I think it was like the 5th one or something that year. So I had never been to a drag king show before participating in this competition. But I was kind of like, I was dabbling with makeup for about 6 months, and this is like a hot tip. So if you want to start getting into drag, practice makeup in your room. Don't take pictures and don't leave the house like with your makeup, because I looked a busted mess, but there's no documentation of it. So people are like, oh, you came out and you had like good makeup and this and that. And it's like, yeah, sure, you know? No, it was a busted mess, but I kept it at home, you know? So hot tip. I mean, I had watched drag for about 12 years or something before, and I just was a big fan of it and still am. But I didn't know that you could be a drag king because there was no scene here in Montreal when I started. So I did the competition. I picked my name like 2 weeks before. My name comes from my first pet and my street name. That's it. And then I ended up winning the competition. So I was like, I am the King of Kings. What does that mean? Like, I was kind of like, but I think, you know, with drag competitions, if you win, you kind of get like bookings from that. Like House of Lorraine had booked me then the next month. I won $100 and I bought myself a packer. And I still use the packer to this day. It's disgusting. But so that kind of like launched me into my career. And from there, I kind of had to make a lot of the opportunities for myself. But I've ended up like, I don't know, just really putting my nose to the grindstone. And I have like a solid brand and I have a lot of support. And I've been just hot gluing rhinestones to my clothes basically for the last like 2 years. And it's taken me all over the place. I've performed in many major cities in Europe, in the United States, like all over Canada. So it's crazy. Like I didn't think that anything would come of it, you know, like there was nothing when I started and now there's like, so.
A lot of our viewers are from Toronto. So do you want to talk a little bit about the Montreal scene? Because I know you jump back and forth. So what is the Montreal scene like?
The Montreal scene, it's very Quebecois. it's been around for a long time. Montreal has had Mado, which is a specific drag bar here for, I believe, like 17 years or something. It's been around. So the scene here is quite old compared to a lot of cities. Montreal is also known for drag, so people kind of come in as tourists and they watch it. But that kind of, it's catered to more tourists. So there's also like a queer underground drag scene, and that's kind of where I have my footing more, which is kind of like, yeah, complements the mainstream scene a little bit. We are like, we go in each other's spots. There's a lot of like crossover, but the King scene in particular is relatively new. It kind of comes and goes in waves here. So like there was a drag king scene here maybe about 5 years ago, and then it was quiet. There was like maybe a handful of people doing it here and there for a good 5 years, and then now it's really picked back up again in the last like 2 years, and it's really like, to me, one of the best king scenes that I've seen. I've done a lot of traveling with my drag, so I spend a lot of time like with drag kings, checking out the scene. Obviously the internet is around, so we get to see like what different cities are like, and like Montreal is, in my opinion, I'm a little biased, but one of the best.
And one thing you've done a lot for visibility is you run a show called Manspread. What's like, you work with a lot of kings and gender performers in that show, and what's kind of like inspiration you get from the performers you get to meet there?
Well, I make the show for me, basically. I'm super like, I'm super greedy. I'm like, I want to have like all the people that I like in one show so that I can watch it. So that's kind of how I go and pick my lineup. But I've had like a ton of performers from Toronto, from Ottawa as well. We've had people from like Calgary, Australia even, like all over. And I think it's just nice for the Montreal locals to see this kind of like talent, because even like for us, we don't get a lot of like king shows, so it's hard to know what you can do as a drag king even. So having this show, and I really give the performers like free reign to do whatever they want, and I find it super inspiring, because it's just like you really never know what people are gonna do. We've had everything, like circus, burlesque, drag, like everything. So I love it. I miss it. I complain about producing all the time. I'm like, oh, tickets are not selling, like all the time. And now that I can't put my show on, I'm like, ugh, like I'm like, I miss it so much,
Well, one of my favorite things about the Montreal scene is that especially the Wiggle Room is so incredibly, just the space of it, the physical space is so gorgeous. And I love that y'all have these crazy spaces that we don't really have in Toronto, except for like Buddies and Bad Times.
Right. Yeah. Well, like Wiggle Room, it has like a red curtain for anyone who's not been, and that is such a luxury to have as a performer. And just there's red curtains everywhere, so it really feels like you're in like this 1930s kind of cabaret. That's how they've kind of set it up, and I really love that personally, so I'll play into that. I'll do a little like cabaret stuff pretty often, and it's like going into like an older time.
But even Mado has a follow spot operator, and it drives me wild when like the few times I've gone to Montreal, going there and just be like, oh my god, the technical stuff y'all can do is so insane.
Yeah, it really changes a lot, having like a follow spot even.
Do you want to just talk a bit again about the separation between the village and the cabaret scene of drag performers, and specifically where you're going to find drag kings in Montreal?
I mean, like I said, I think things are changing. It has been quite a quick progression, I think. It was just, I think of the fact that people hadn't seen us ever. So they didn't think that we were going to be entertaining. And I think that's one of the biggest like misconceptions and people will come to me after a show and be like, especially after Manspread, and be like, oh wow, it was so great, I had no idea like this was going to be so fun or something. And to me that's kind of like a read. I'm just like, you came in thinking like this is going to be not good, and like why is that, you know? And I think a lot of it is just kind of rooted in misogyny. There's obviously a lot of misogyny still in the gay world. I feel like there always has been in my case, what I've experienced. So you know, it's something that we have to also fight against on top of all the other things. But I also have grown up in gay world for so long. I've had gay friends for so long that I feel like I kind of know how to like navigate it a little bit. You have to be really careful. And this is something that I feel like you can understand. Like my numbers, if you look at them, they're not very political. Like it's mostly just me doing what I want, having fun, like dancing, doing comedy, whatever. Most of the time it's not political, but just the fact that I'm there and I have the body that I have, it becomes political, right? Just to exist, for us to exist in these spaces, it is political. It's hard, and sometimes it works to my advantage to be a drag king, right? Because they'll book me for like diversity, and it makes them look good to have me in the show. So in some ways I do like, it is in my advantage, but then in other ways it's definitely to my disadvantage.
Yeah, not gonna lie, that is one thing I do miss about being strictly a drag king, is the booking because we want a drag king in the lineup privilege.
It's like, if that's how I get my foot in the door, I'm not mad at it. Like, it would be nice for them to be like, you're also just good. Like, and maybe they are. I don't know. You can't know exactly what their intentions are, but I think a lot of the time it's like, we're gonna book a drag king to make ourselves look woke or whatever, you know?
Yeah. But like you said, that drag kings, people wouldn't have seen you before, but when we look at the history of drag, we saw drag kings just as early, if not earlier, than we saw drag queens. There just wasn't a name for it. It was male impersonation and female impersonation, and male impersonators were around as early as the 1800s with strictly that job. So it always blows my mind when people just look at the past 10, 15 years, because even in the 90s, drag kings were huge, and say, oh, well, drag kings just didn't exist.
It's like, no, we've been there. It's just we're kind of like in the shadows a lot of the time. So hopefully now, I mean, again, drag kings were very much a thing in the vaudeville scene in the 1930s. Gladys Bentley is a big inspiration for me, just period. Like that kind of like don't give a fuck attitude, especially at that time. So Gladys Bentley, if you don't know, was like a big black female-bodied male impersonator who would sing songs about women and like married a woman and was like very open about like this like lesbianism, this like gay, you know, and just, yeah, made a huge career out of it. And like people would go like see them sing and stuff like that, and they would make these like raunchy songs, and I just find that to be like so inspiring. I get really inspired by people who are like unapologetically queer in times when that was not okay, which is like basically any time before like the last maybe 5 years, you know? But especially if you're black, or like it's the 1930s, or like, you know what I mean?
One thing that really bothers me when people talk about, oh, well, you know, drag started from Shakespeare times. No, it didn't. People were doing drags well before Shakespeare brought on men to play women on stage. B, the only reason that these women or these men were on stage playing women was because women were not allowed to be on the stage.
Right.
And the privilege in that, it blows my mind.
It feels like it kind of parallels today, you know what I mean? You know, women aren't allowed on stage. It's like, yeah.
It is impossible to decide the right time. When do I need to be political? And when do I need to shut up just so that people can see me, so I can be political in a different way later, and maybe other people will hear it?
Yeah, it's really hard to figure out. I'm still working on it personally.
How has drag influenced your own personal life?
Um, it's really interesting because I think like the whole quarantine coronavirus thing has really changed a lot about what I thought about myself. I kind of thought until recently that drag was just performance for me, and then like, you know, it would be over and I would go back to being like a woman. But now that I am deprived of my like gender performance outlet, I've kind of realized my like trans maskness. But then like being that I'm like a trans mask non-binary person. And that took me kind of a really long time to wrap my head around. And I was fortunate to meet other people, specifically in Toronto, who kind of opened up my ideas of like what you could classify yourself as, I guess, as a trans person, because it's like not all the way, but there are physical um, things that I want to change about my body. And having like this coronavirus has really put a stall in my, like I had kind of started the process prior to this. And then now it feels like it's, you know, it's going to add more of a wait time for me to like, undergo these procedures that I feel like I need. So it's just been difficult that way. I guess I didn't realize how important drag was for me as a human being until I can't have that kind of outlet anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very real sentiment at the end there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been
Are
really, really
you,
hard.
yeah, it's put a stop on, for me, it's put a stop on getting any sort of top surgery until all of this is
Same.
over.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You've done a lot of work bringing drag king shows to the scene in Montreal. What can people who enjoy your shows do, and what can people who enjoy drag king shows everywhere do to make sure that they see more of it?
Just kind of going to the show is probably the best way that you can support. I know, like, yeah, we can't always make it to every show, right? But even if you can't go, like, buy a ticket. It's just hard for us because we do sometimes get paid less than the drag queens. So to spend money on drag and to improve, like, it might be a slower process. There isn't a lot of opportunity for new performers, but I always try to have at least one baby king in the show every time. But obviously, I mean, just anybody starting up and performing, you kind of do have to like build a name, build a brand. There's a lot of work that goes into starting. So, you know, there's other like open stages that you can go to, following us on social media, doing the kind of activism. Like I've seen a lot of people critiquing these big shows about the lack of AFAB and cis women performers. So that kind of work I think is important, and it does help us. It's hard for us to speak for ourselves like we talked about, but for if you have kind of no stakes in it, if you're male bodied and you're an ally and you're not going to get on the show and it doesn't matter that you critique it, continue to critique it, because that's how we affect change in our communities.
Yeah. And when we talk about shows within cities, and especially the smaller online shows that are going on right now, I've noticed a lot of people being very vocal and being like, hey, we see you. And genuinely, one thing that I'll say to add to that is actually reach out to those people and say, and don't say it in a mean way, because then they're not going to change. But I've reached out to a lot of people and I've been like, hey, I've just noticed that you're missing this sort of representation in your show. Are you releasing another schedule, or do you want me to recommend you some great drag kings or great performers of color that you should have in your lineup?
It is hard. I mean, you're a producer as well, so we are kind of a minority of a minority. So like, it's hard to get everybody kind of represented. But I can say like confidently with my show, we've had all kinds of representation, and like it just adds so much more to the show. You know, you're not getting the same number back to back to back. You're getting really like a really variety show. So yeah, I think like you said, trying to do it in a way that encourages them to actually change and not be kind of resistant to change.
You and I work a lot with younger performers. Is there any advice that you would give or do give to young drag kings to show them the ropes and how to get to where they're going?
Advice that I like to give is there's no such thing as too much makeup. I think when you start, you kind of maybe are going for like a realer look, but if you look at the drag kings that are really killing it, that are really like the top of the top, they wear a ton of makeup. So don't be afraid to wear too much makeup. You don't have to perform toxic masculinity. Now, like, I think that we have the power to redefine masculinity, and that's something that I'm trying to do with my drag. I think performing realness helped me to get my foot in the door because people hadn't seen a drag king. So they were like, just male performance is a lot for them to kind of soak in. And then on top of that, to be like, I'm also critiquing masculinity. They're like, okay, no, like that's too much. So, but now that I've kind of established myself and I have a name, I'm performing more like queer characters. I perform gay men most of the time. There is an endless amount of ways to perform masculinity. It doesn't have to be like, If you want makeup tips, I have a YouTube channel. You can access it by going to charlideville.com. I have all of my socials there. And I give a lot of tips for like beards, mustaches, things like that. I'm working on putting more out now too, that I have some time to kill, because it is more difficult for us to find resources on how to do these kind of technical male performance things, binding safely, stuff like that I didn't really find a lot of information when I started. So I'm like, okay, well, I've done these a few times. I feel confident enough to share this information out. So find me on YouTube, subscribe to my channel.
Yes. Can I just add to finding tutorials and stuff online? There's a giant group on Facebook called Drag Kings Unite, which blows my mind when I went and started transitioning into more of the drag queen scene, that doesn't exist for any other community. Like, there's only the Drag Kings Unite, and it's literally all of the drag kings from everywhere in the world. It's so cool.
Yeah, and it's been a huge resource for me personally. So it's just such a supportive community. Like I was saying, like, we are here to help each other out for the most part. So if there's a drag king that you've seen that inspires you, like, don't be afraid to reach out and see if they have any tips or like advice or anything like that. We are a friendly community. I think we all kind of need to support each other. So I can't say enough good things about the community.
Thank you so much, Charli, for being with us today. That was so much fun and so great to see you all the way in Montreal. So we're going to go off to see a little performance of you, but do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself en français?
Oui, ça va. Merci à toi. Merci pour l'interview. C'était super fun. Ça m'a donné une excuse pour me mettre en barbe. Alors, j'aime toujours ça. Alors, voici mon numéro. Ça s'appelle They Say I'm Crazy. Et tu vas voir un petit peu pourquoi ils pensent que je suis fou. Alors, ouais. Get into it!
Oh, now I feel it, faceless and faded. Those eyes are bullets that are ripping out my skin. I'm feeling haunted, get out of my head. I'm taught to forget by something we never been. I'm giving in, I'm seeing something. Now I'll be shouting every thought inside my head. I'm running out, I'm going all out, but all these voices just keep saying what they said. They say I'm crazy, they talk about me. They say I'm never ever good enough for you. I take. No opposition, no competition. All that you care about is either wrong or fake. I'm giving in, I'm seeing something. Now I'll be shouting every thought inside my head. I'm running out, I'm going all out, but all these voices just keep saying what they said. They say I'm crazy, they talk about me. They say I'm never ever good enough for you. I'm thinking maybe, or maybe I need to prove I meet no matter what they say or do. They say I'm crazy, they talk about me. They say I'm never ever good enough for you. I'm thinking maybe I need to prove I meet no matter what they say or do. They say I'm crazy. I'm giving in, I'm saying something. Now I'll be shouting every thought inside my head. I'm running out, I'm going all out, but all these voices just keep saying what they say. They say I'm crazy, they talk about me. They say I'm never ever good enough for you. I'm thinking maybe I need to prove I meet no matter what they say or do. They say I'm crazy.
Yay! Thank you so much to Charli Deville. That was a fantastic performance. And this is why we need to see more inclusion of drag kings and gender performers in mainstream drag culture all throughout Canada and the world. Wouldn't that be nice? Can't we all play on the same field together? Now, we're playing on this field together, Danny and I, my absolute ambassador in Toronto. Let's say hi to Danny, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, guys and gals, and non-binary pals.
Hi, Barbie. How are you?
I'm living the dream. You look so cute, like you're serving a French tea party in the garden.
I thought with our first Quebecois performer on the show that I would dress it up and go a little bit française for today's episode. But you look phenomenal yourself. Look at this outfit.
Thank you. I'm just living for my little homage to the carousel on my shirt with my My Little Pony, and I'm feeling my 80s fantasy.
You look like an 80s fantasy. Speaking of 80s fantasy, we actually do have a little bit of like a throwback cocktail ingredient to go into today's cocktail. You ready?
I'm so excited, Danny. Tell me all about the Absolut Deville.
So the Absolut Deville is kind of a fresher take on a vodka soda, but what you're gonna need is you're gonna need some Absolut vodka, you need some melon liqueur, you're gonna need some cucumber slices, lemon slices, and some honeydew melon. Oh, and some mint. All right, let's get to it. So we have a glass half full of ice to start, but leave a little room in the glass. You're gonna need it.
Okay, glass half full of ice. Now, is this just any old glass or?
So ideally you want to use like a Collins glass, something tall and skinny, but you know, given that this is quarantine, I'm more of a go with what you got girl, which explains a lot about my dating life, but whatever you got.
That is against the rules, Danny. You can't diss yourself that hard. How dare you? That was hysterical. All right, so we got Collins glass half full of ice. I've been, as per your instructions, soaking my ingredients in these delicious garnishes, or I guess you would say statement pieces that are going into this cocktail. So in this Tupperware, I have lemon wheels, I have cucumber slices, and I have cubed honeydew melon with vodka and melon liqueur.
Amazing. So that's really like a perfect start to it. If you want to make a picture as well, you want to hang out on your patio and drink them. But we're also going to use these as a garnish in our cocktail as well. So you've got your glass, you're going to grab whatever you've got. If you've got tweezers, that's great. And start layering lemon wheels, cucumber slices, and honeydew melon in your glass. And make it pretty, you know?
You know, I'm really good at making myself look pretty, but stuffing fruit down the side of a glass seems a bit difficult to me. Okay, so I've got some cucumber slices, some lemon wheels, and some melon in here. Do you want to see what it looks like?
Yeah, show me.
This is what I got for you. Hold on, I'm going to shake it a bit so it messes up a little. Look at that.
Oh, that's so stylish, just like you.
Yes!
Okay, so should look something like that. Now we're going to add 1.5 ounces of Absolut vodka. All right. Then we're going to take a creme de melon. We're using McGinnis here, but if you've got a bottle that's collecting dust in the back of your cabinet, now is the time to bust that bee out. We're going to add 1/4 ounce.
Is this the vintage ingredient that you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of like a throwback to the 80s. Everyone knows there was a, green melon liqueur that was super popular for a long time. We're bringing it back, baby.
All right, what's the final step in this Absolut Deville? Tell me more.
So only a couple more steps. Now we're going to take our vodka, melon liqueur, and like fruit and cucumber mixture. We're going to top it up with some club soda and then give it a gentle stir to combine.
Alrighty, some club soda, and then I'm going to stir it up. Stir it up, little darling, stir it up.
You have such a beautiful singing voice. You should sing live.
You want to go to karaoke together sometime? I'm so down.
Don't threaten me with a good time. You know I love karaoke.
Yes! What's the garnish on the Absolut Deville?
So now we've got our soda in there. Now you're going to take a little bit of mint here, and you're going to wake it up by kind of smacking the back of your hand with it. Not too hard.
Okay, so it's just like naughty mint. Like
Yeah,
mildly naughty mint.
bad.
All right, I got that. I'm going to step it down the side of my glass.
And we'll just place it on top to look like a little tropical vacation in a glass. Like this. Oh my god,
Yours
it's
is so
gorgeous.
much better than mine. I'm going to take this Absolut 100% edible and biodegradable straw and slide that in the side beside my palm tree so that I can try this cocktail. But first, I'm going to let y'all know at home about the Absolut Deville. The recipe will be on our Instagram at Absolut Empires Ball and on our website, absolutempiresball.com. So make sure you find the recipe there so you can try out this delicious summer drink. And we're going to cheers now, Danny. 1, 2, 3, cheers!
Cheers! Oh, it's so like bright and fresh and not too sweet. It's like a little summertime twist on a vodka soda, which is summery enough, but
It tastes like I've gone on a tropical fruit salad vacation, and I'm here for it because let's be honest, walking down Church Street during Pride Month is a tropical fruit salad. So I'm I'm here for all the flavors, and I'm living for it. Thank you so much, Danny, our Absolut ambassador. Don't forget the recipes on our Instagram and website, and we'll see you next time. Cheers!
Hey guys, my name is Charli Deville. I am known as Montreal's premier deadbeat daddy, and I am here to show you a drag transformation. Today I'm going to be transforming into a kind of creepy cabaret-inspired clown. So let's just get to it. The classic. So we let that dry, coat number 1. I also have this Ben Nye Neutral Set colorless powder. And just press the powder down onto my brow. Put it on your hand, and then I'm gonna put just kind of a light dusting over top of the brow. And this is gonna cancel out the blue tones in my eyebrows. I'm gonna be painting my face all white, so it is like an old school kind of cabaret type look that I'm going for, and painting your face all white, it gives that like clown vibe. It's a little bit like creepy and ominous, and it really just like is a nice base to put anything else on top of it. Okay, now that I look terrifying, I'm gonna smooth it all out with a wet beauty blender. To make sure that your eyeshadow doesn't go anywhere, I use liquid lipstick. I use it as a base for my eyes. You basically take, I don't use a sponge, I take a brush, and then so now I'm gonna go in finally with this black NYX liquid suede. So yeah, I want to look like I'm not sleeping because I'm not sleeping. And dip into the yellow. Oh, see, yeah, that's pretty. So I think next I'm gonna do my cheeks, my blush. I like cute. So next step is going to be lips. So for my brows, I'm going to use a Kat Von D tattoo liner in Trooper Black. Ooh, look how sinister. Give myself a little mustache. And this mustache is inspired by Dorian Electra. Cool. Okay. So that's what it should look like, and it stays on. So next I'm going to add glitter. I'm gonna put some more glitter, 'cause like, hello, this is drag, baby. Oh, so BRB. Alright, so my lashes are on. Maybe, I think this is probably the final product. So I'm going to put on my wig, my costume, and then I'll come back and I'll show you guys the whole look all together. So this is the final look. I am the king of the clowns. I think it's really cute. I feel like I look really scary. Yeah, I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching, and follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. I have TikTok, I have a YouTube channel as well where I post drag king tutorials. So thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!
Thank you so much to Alexander Brandy, Charli Deville, Barbie Jo Bontemps, and Danny Yoon for being a part of this week's episode. Thank you! And of course, thank you to all the entertainers involved in this project, the one and only Scarlett Bobo, Mojo Toronto, and all the queer producers behind the scenes. Thank you so much. And, of course, Absolut Canada, thank you so much for always supporting queer culture. It means so much to have you on our side. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And of course, thank you guys for tuning in and tipping. But guess what? It's the last episode! Oh my god! But don't worry, keep on the lookout because we have more Empire's Ball news coming to you very soon. So keep on the lookout. Well, my name is Ivory Towers, and it has been my pleasure to have you guys join us along this ride. But right now, to close off the show, take it away, Alexander Brandy.
This is my come up and most of you are sleeping. Then when you're in person, why you act so sheep? bitch. Online, I see I get right, but when you see me on the streets, you say you don't wanna fight. Why? Cause when you get on my bad side, you get a big fright. When I throw a party and I get an invite, Massage is crazy. She coming for your life. She's a beat eating, flesh eating. These MCs alive. No, you shouldn't test me. I am on a next thing, on another level. No, you will never vex me. I'm taking over, so you'll never forget me. Forget you, get left behind. Boo hoo, I'm coming up. I'm coming up. You better run. You better run, cause I'm coming up. I'm coming up. I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming up. I'm coming up. You better run. You better run, cause I'm coming up. I'm coming up. I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming. Gordy thought me fantasy, straight out of a movie scene. Monday started begging, please, on their knees, on their knees. Then they made new wedding ring. You can't even handle me, handle me, handle me. सारे सपने तेरे तोड़ दूंगी. आँखां विच सुरमा, गुट मेरी परांदी. डोर मेरी बखरी, पंजाब बना मैं पक्की. सारे लोग की कहंदे that I am a little crazy, wavy, hazy. सच्ची मैनू जानदा नहीं. I'm coming up, I'm coming up. You better run, you better run, cause I'm coming up. I'm coming up. I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. I'm coming up, I'm coming up. You better run, you better run, cause I'm coming up. I'm coming up. I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. दूसरे MCs got the मेरे नाल मुकाबला. I will tap your head like a motherfucking tabla. मैं किससे तो नहीं डरती, दुश्मन मेरा एक और बन गया. सारे डरते हैं, कुत्ते वांगू बकवास पोंकी जांदे हैं. दूसरे MCs got the मेरे नाल मुकाबला. I will tap your head like a motherfucking tabla. मैं किससे तो नहीं डरती, दुश्मन मेरा एक और बन गया. सारे डरते हैं, कुत्ते वांगू बकवास पोंकी जांदे हैं. I'm coming up, I'm coming up. You better run, you better run, cause I'm coming up. I'm coming up. I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. I'm coming up, I'm coming up. You better run, you better run, cause I'm coming up. I'm coming up. I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. I'm giving you pose, contour nose. I'm giving you hits, I'm giving you life. I'm giving you shade, I'm giving you tents. I'm giving you face, I'm giving you lace. Fronts. I'm giving you pose, contour nose.